Hello there, and welcome back to my channel. So I've been doing the Halloween franchise, and today I'm going to be going over H20. This is the 7th installment into the franchise, and it is also, I think it's the second time that the timeline kind of resets and tells a different story. This kind of ignores sequels 3 through 6 and is a direct continuation after parts 2. It is the installment to finally have Jamie Lee Curtis back into the role of Laurie Strode, and I'm so happy with this installment. I kind of grew up with this one. I didn't realize that until later when I rewatched it and had memories from my childhood. This is one of the best Halloween movies to me. It's one of my favorites, and it tells the story of 20 years later after the murders of the original Michael Myers murders. This was released in 1998, and that was the year that I was born, and it takes place in October 29th through 31st of 1998, so technically I was alive while these events were happening. And yes, I think this is a great installment. It's a fun chapter, it's a fun movie, and with all of that being said, I think we should get right into Halloween H20, 20 years later. This is one of my favorite installments, I've already said that, but I love how the opening of it is so new and it looks great quality, and like October, I love the wetness and the damp, the atmosphere. You can tell that it is Illinois, and I love that about it. I love that they're playing Mr. Sandman in the beginning as well. It's really cool that we follow the nurse from parts 1 and 2. They brought her back, smoking nurse. And we find that her house has been broken into because Michael Myers has escaped and he wants to look up his sister Laurie, so he figures out a way to get to her records and figures out where she is. That's how we get our opening kill and an introduction to Joseph Gordon-Levitt as a babyface. And yeah, he's pretty much the first one to get killed with a thing in his face, and that was awesome. We love that. And then she starts running away, and this is such a good opening to the film. I thought it was very strong, and it shows the presence of Michael Myers just being anywhere in the house, and you don't know what's going on, and I love how they build the tension. The police showing up is so awesome. It adds another layer there, and she's screaming and she's asking for help, and she's in the house next to them, and she can't even, she can see them and she can't even get their help, and it's just awesome the way she tries to use her best at fighting off Michael until she gets her neck cut, and that is the next opening part of the kill, and then he rides off, and then we get the amazing opening titles where we have Dr. Loomis kind of doing some voiceover work, and we have one of my personal favorite scores for the Halloween franchise is this H20 theme, and it's just swelling with strings, and it's so intense, and it's got that Halloween classic theme behind it. It's just the best opening for me. I love seeing Jamie Lee Curtis, especially because if you watch the first ones and then you watch this one, seeing that time gap, seeing her go from a teenager to a woman is mind-blowing, and she's still so beautiful. Watching her deal with the nightmares and the screaming and the crying, waking up. We're introduced to a character that has lived her past 20 years under the trauma that she'd experienced as a girl. And I think that it's really sad to be able to see who and how she is at this point in her life after experiencing that. This is what Laurie is, and this is who she is, and this is what she's become, and she's changed her name, she's moved away, she's in hiding, she has a son, and it's touched upon that she has a bit of an alcohol problem and a bit of a pill problem, and she's trying to just cope and numb everything that she's going through, and I like that that's one of the things that they were touching upon in this movie. Plus the mother and son relationship and how that trauma affected her and it's affecting him. But then eventually, it's crazy that her fear and her paranoia will end up being the thing that saves him in the end, because she knows that he will come back. I think this has a good younger cast, and I really like all of the ones at the little college there that are left behind after they all go to the Yosemite. I also love that this house is so beautiful, and it's just set up in a very, very nice way. It's also the house that's used in Scream 3, so that's a little fun fact. The fact that Ghostface and Michael Myers brought slashing terror upon the same house. Love that. So we have the bathroom scene where Michael Myers is switching his cars out. Now this one is awesome because it builds up that tension again. This is a really good installment for that. And you see the girls going to the restroom, and he steals the purse from underneath of the stall, and you get that like moment because she has a child with her and you don't know who or and how or what he's going to go about it. You know, you never doubt Michael Myers. He could kill anybody at anything at any time. He ends up just stealing the keys and riding off though because he is on a mission for this. He's got somewhere to be. So after fighting with his mom about not being able to go on the trip, he sneaks out for lunch because he's planning on staying behind and he wants to get alcohol for him and his friends to be able to have a little dinner and, you know, party tonight on Halloween. He says, I've never really celebrated Halloween before because of his mother's paranoia. Well, he gets caught, and it's just right after the scene where she's having a glass of wine, and she's explaining, do you think something so traumatic could happen to someone that it messes them up for their whole life? And she has the conversation about, I've tried therapy and yoga and meditation and all of the things, and it just, because the only thing that can help is that confrontation, that getting the closure, the knowing that he is gone, knowing that he can't come back for her, knowing that she is safe. That's what she's yearning for, and it's killing her inside, knowing that she's unresolved about this problem. I do love the atmosphere in this film a lot. It is one of the best ones that I throw on for fun, for when I throw on for comfort. For some reason, it's just got a great feel to it. I love that it has a Scream feel. I know some people don't like that, but I happen to. That kind of like late 90s, early 2000s, like slasher horror movies. I just love the whole vibe of that. I love that Janet Leigh, Jamie Lee Curtis's mother, gets to be in this role with her. I like that they had just a small little part for her, you know, helping her and saying that one line about may I be maternal for a moment, and then the little Psycho score and homage and car that she pulls in. That's another thing that's kind of self-aware and awesome. So when we're coming down to the final act of H20, I think that's the part that's like the best of this movie. That's the part that everyone talks about, and it's the part that really holds up the best, is the final showdown. There's so many times throughout the movie when she thinks she's seeing Michael coming up on her, but it turns out in this last half that he really is there and he really is coming after her. So the first kind of death that happens is the kid looks at, well, we should talk about that. There is the CGI mask in that part. The kid is about to get his throat cut, and because he wandered off when they're all trying to gather food, you know, for their party and alcohol tonight. So when it comes in the mask in H20, I honestly don't notice it that much. It's one of the better masks, if you ask me. I do sometimes catch a little bit, just a tiniest bit, noticing that the hair is a little wild, but I would take this mask any single day over part 2, part 4, part 5, and part 6. I just think it's a great mask. I love this one. But yeah, this is a good mask for me. It doesn't take me out of it. It doesn't bother me. Not an issue for this movie at all. But yeah, after he gets killed and that CGI mask thing happens, then the other girl goes up looking for him, and she's like, Charlie, where are you? And she finds him in the dumb waiter in the kitchen, and oh my god, it's horrible. And she's running around, and the music is intense, and she climbs in and goes up, and he takes the thing and he cuts the rope and crushes her shin as she's trying to crawl out of it. And that's one of the most gruesome parts, and it's so intense, and you just feel so bad. You know she's in pain. Then he comes right around the corner 10 seconds later, and you know she's dead, and he just takes her out. He just stabs her like a badass. Then he displays her body up on like a light fixture so that when they hear the noise, the other two kids, they go looking and they see this giant trail of blood, and he's like, this guy's gotta be a sick joke or something. And they find her body and they turn on the light, and it just flickers and electrocutes and everything's going on and blood's everywhere. And they're screaming in terror, and they look over and they see Michael, and he just holds up his knife. And that is when like this whole final act kicks off. They're running from him, he's coming after them, they lose him, he comes back, they fight him off with a rock, he's stabbing them, the music is intense, they're swelling, they keep running. Into the gate, after dropping the keys and trying to get it open, and then they can't, you know? I just like being able to watch something that is such a good chase scene. Doesn't have to be a lot of dialogue, there doesn't have to be, you know, a lot of killing or a lot of gore, but the scenes need to be intense and the music needs to be good. And I think that that is two things that the scene's playing off well here. And then we come to the, well, yeah, I would say the most iconic part of this movie is when Laurie and Michael come face to face after 20 years of never seeing each other. And it is important. You can see the excitement on her face, but the terror and the shock and the fear, and you can see the blankness on his mask, but the personality behind his eyes, and he's like, it's you again, and she says, it's you again, and they just have this moment. They can feel it and they know it, and we see it without saying a word. And it is just crazy the way that it plays out like that. I love it. And then he's gone. Next part is they're running around the house after she's hid the kids in the closet, and she throws the line, "Do as I say." The guy says, "What do we do now? What do we do now?" And she says, "Well, try to live." And I just love that because it's the only thing you can do when Michael Myers is around. Try to live. We get another intense scene, but it's a fake out because LL Cool J, who had been the security guard, the whole time, come around the corner and they thought it was Michael. And as they're like mourning over his body, Michael does come out of the corner and he gets, I think his name's Will or something like that, I don't know, but he gets Jamie Lee Curtis's boyfriend in this one, and he does the same kind of kill that he used in Halloween Part 2 with the scalpel and the nurse. He does that with the giant kitchen knife and holds him up off of the thing, and he's shaking, and you feel so bad. And she's watched one of the people she loves get slain in front of her. I mean, how much more can she handle? Like, how much can she take? There's only so much about seeing people you love mutilated in front of you that you can cope with. I love just the whole running around the complex and the getting the kids out of there and the smashing them over the head with the fire hydrant. It was just beautiful camera work, beautiful stunt work. I love Jamie Lee Curtis. It's a beautiful fight scene. I love the intensity of running. I don't know why. That's just the scariest thing to me, is someone is being chased and running. And then he's still following them. He's so menacing. No matter what you do, you just cannot get away. Even when she's like in the car and she's got the emergency brake on and she's like, "Why can't I leave?" And she's like, "Ah," and he's right here and she's like, "Ah." She speeds off. Man, I love this one. It's so intense, and this final act just keeps going and going and going. It's literally like 36 minutes of a straight showdown. She tells them, "You have to go. Get my son down to the whatevers and go." That's another nod to Scream. She said, "Drive down to the Beckers." The nods that they do. Another one of the best parts of this movie, and my favorite part, is where she takes that axe and she's walking down the street, and it's so iconic where the camera pans up and the picturing is her in the street with the shadow and the axe, and she's calling out, "Michael!" And the music swells with the H20 theme, and you just know that she says, "I'm done. I'm facing my monsters. I am turning around. I can't live with this anymore. I've been traumatized to the point of not being able to handle it. I'm doing something about this, and I don't care if I die tonight. I can't live in a world where you get to have the upper hand over me." And so she faces him head on, and that's what we had been waiting for. Bro, and it's so intense because there's so many different just, running around the complex again and throwing the knives and, stabbing him with the knife and underneath of the whole table thing, and he's on top of him and she can't get out from underneath, and then he's flipping the tables and she's crawling on the floor, and it's like she's trying her best to get away, bro, and she just can't. And then being able to throw him over that balcony, man, that was the best part. And she come to the end and she's holding herself because she has a cut in the exact part where she got cut in part 1, and she's looking at him and he's laying there lifeless, corpseless, and it's the last time we see Michael. She's about to kill him, and then it was revealed that LL Cool J's character is alive because the bullet only grazed his head. And he stops her. He's like, he's dead, don't worry about it, you're just freaking out now. He's dead, don't worry, you killed him." And it zooms out, and we have that emotional ending of all the cops showing up and everyone's safe, and he's talking on the phone with his wife, and the son and his girlfriend are okay, and Laurie is standing there, and she is watching the cops, and she's waiting for everything to go down, but she knows in her heart that it's not over. She knows Michael Myers, and she knows his tricks. She knows exactly what's up. She knows as soon as they put him in that van, he's gonna come to life. So she grabs the axe and the gun, and she hijacks it and drives off. Because, ding-ling-ling-ling-ling, she was right. He could not stay dead. He was in the body bag, and as soon as she started driving, he started getting out. And then she crashes through the fucking windshield when she hits the brakes, and she's like, come on, get up. And to me, this is the best and final showdown, and this is how I consider the ending of this timeline. This is the true cap-off to me for this story. The sequel that follows this one is kind of like an alternate universe thing to me. The way that I choose to look at it as Halloween H20 is the final installment, the final chapter for Laurie Strode until the Halloween 2018 thing. There's many different timelines. And so, where she wrecks over the thing and runs him down and then axes his head off, and it's so emotional after the reaching, and the music swells and it just ends. That, to me, is Halloween H2O. That is this movie. That is the end. She successfully took down Michael Myers, and there are no other sequels after this one. Now, it's kind of set up that way anyway because there are so many different alternate universe sequels. There's this one, and this one, and this one. In my mind, H2O comes as is, and that's why the ending is the strongest, and that's what I said on my one video, is depending on the sequel, I like when a Michael Myers in a Halloween film ends on an eerie note versus a good note. Now, the first Halloween ends on an eerie note, and then if you watch the second one, it kind of doesn't, but then it still does. And then if you watch H2O, well, that should be the concluding chapter, and it's the end of Michael, and way to go, Laurie. And it's kind of like a play your own story type of thing, you know? If you want to watch the story from A to Z of how Laurie wins, you watch these movies in this order. If you want to watch a story of how Michael wins in this order, you watch these ones. If you want to see how Michael wins this time, you watch these ones. If you want to see how Laurie wins again this time, you watch these ones, you know? And then there's the remakes. So it's just crazy. It goes on and on and on and on, but I don't hate Resurrection as much as everyone else does, but I do think that the cop-out is the switch that they make is interesting, but it still could have been explained away differently, in my opinion. Like, there's a reason around that and why it doesn't make sense. But all in all, that was my review for Halloween H2O. It's one of my favorite sequels of the entire Halloween franchise. It's probably the one I watched the most besides 2018 or the original. And yeah, it's just one I have the most fun with. So make sure that you tell me in the comments what you like about H2O, how it holds up for you still to this day. I think it's pretty amazing. Okay, so this is my little Michael Myers Funko Pop. It is the H2O version. I love it so much. I'm so glad to have him into my collection. I love the box, and here's what he looks like outside of the box. I love the little knife in his hand, and this one, I love how crazy his little hair is. It looks perfect in this. Make sure that you check out some of my other videos because I've done a bunch of different genres, and I plan to do a bunch of different more, and I'm gonna keep doing them. And yeah, check back for whenever I post something new, and thanks for watching. Alright, bye!